Hey, Sankalpa, always a pleasure. We missed you last week, I think. It made a big difference. Gunam, always steady man from Mississauga. Somia, let's see, Hudson, right? Hudson, Ohio, yes.
Yes,
And
Maharaj.
and
Wonderful.
Curtis from Cowtown. Come on in. Curtis from Cowtown. Don't feel bad. I live in Hogtown. Toronto's Hogtown.
Maharaj, today is Soumya's birthday.
Whose?
Soumya's birthday is today, Maharaj.
No. Wow, that's wonderful. Okay, so we know we can ask you how old you are. This is a big upperod to even get. Never ask a woman about it. But we can sing happy birthday right now, or should we leave it for later? Everybody, all the gangsters on board. What do you say? Okay, just 1 second. Do you want the link for this? How are we going to get that to you? What's the best way? Well, I'll let you do that. I'm already on, and we're just already. I have another person here in the room that wants to follow along on his computer, so he has to get the. Hold on. I guess. Well, here it is. Here's the link, and whatever you have to do for that. Good. And she's coming in too, right? Okay, great. Okay, so you'll pass that on to her, right? Okay, she'll have it automatically. Oh, you two are like an incredible team. Okay, so I think we should get started then. Gabriel, you look like one of the Kumaras. Yeah, very nice. Okay, bravo. Glad you got on board, Gabriel. So now let us begin. We'll start with our little invocations to Prabhupada. I'm just going to swing in such a way that you see a little more light on me and I can see you too. All right. So Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We're going to turn to page 1, and this is also on the screen, page 1 of the Bhagavad Gita from the introduction, and we'll do it line by line. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya
Jnananjana Shalakaya
Chakshurunmilitam Yena
Chakshurunmilitam Yena
Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
I was born in the darkest ignorance.
I was born in the darkest ignorance.
And my spiritual master opened my eyes.
And my spiritual master opened my eyes.
With the torch of knowledge.
With the torch of knowledge.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto him.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto him.
Jai. So, Vaishnavi, you are our host. Would you please tell us what verse we're on today?
1027.
So, chapter 10. Text number 27. Okay, so we'll see how far we go with this shloka, and I'll just go for the Sanskrit. Uchaishravasam asvanam vidimam amrito bhavam airavatam jagendranam naranam cha naradipam. Translation: of horses know me to be Uchai produced during the churning of the ocean for nectar of lordly elephants. I am Airavata, and among men, I am the monarch. Thank you. So, Vaishnavi, would you like to get someone to volunteer paragraph 1, and then someone can take paragraph 2?
Curtis, please.
Purport. The devotee demigods and the demons, asuras, once took part in churning the sea. From this churning, nectar and poison were produced, and Lord Shiva drank that poison. From the nectar were produced many entities, of which there was a horse named Uchishrava. Another animal produced from the nectar was an elephant named Arivata. Because these two animals were produced from nectar, they have special significance, and they are representatives of Krishna.
Thank you. And someone else then on the next paragraph.
Gabriel, you want to go?
Unfortunately, I don't have a copy with me, so I don't think I'll be able to read.
Okay, it's on the screen. Can you see it? If you are using your phone, maybe.
Oh yeah, okay, I can see it.
Okay. You're starting here.
Okay. Amongst the human beings, the king is the representative of Krishna, because Krishna is the maintainer of the universe. And the kings who are appointed on account of their godly qualifications are maintainers of their kingdoms. Kings like Maharaj Yudhisthira, Maharaj Parikshit, and Lord Rama were all highly righteous kings who always thought of the citizens' welfare. In Vedic literature, the king is considered to be the representative of God. In this age, however, the corruption of the principles of religion, monarchy decayed and is now finally abolished. It is to be understood that in the past, however, people were more happy under righteous kings.
Thank you very much. There's a lot of good stuff in here. And let's start with the horse. I think in many cultures in the world, you can't, whether it's, kind of like ancient tribal cultures or anywhere in any period, there's always beautiful stories about animals, turtles, fish, elephants, and horses, lions, and so on like that. I mean, even in areas where there's horses don't run wild and they're not, like, say, an iconic animal of that area, they are part of in the insignia, for logos of countries, even in some places flags for nations. So one of those animals is the horse, and the horses are quite incredible creatures. They have done great services for mankind, and we one time Prabhupada was talking about the beauty of the horse, and that it was the most beautiful animal from his perspective, And someone said to Prabhupada, I believe it was Shruti Kirti, he said, well, what about a cow? Prabhupada said, no, not a cow, a horse. That doesn't mean that one can't have affection towards cows and bulls. They can be very beautiful looking creatures, like some of those Indian breeds are gorgeous, But of all folklore, if you want to, let's use that term, folklore from different parts of the world, where animals are recognized to be have an iconic status in the Vedic literatures, Uchai was the one that's recognized, and he was churned out of the ocean of milk. That is a great story unto itself. And animals, Shiva came out of that. Saraswati, the goddess of learning, came out of that. Dhanvantari, the god of the Ayurveda, came out of that. And he's the one that came with the Amrit, like an urn, a big pot of, like ambrosial nectar that was supposed to make you practically immortal. Just a great story. It's like an epical tale. And out of it came the beautiful horse. So when I walked across the US, I was so surprised to find that in a place like Nevada, the horses are running wild. And they'll just end up in your backyard and start eating whatever there is. You know, that just, you wake up one morning and there is a whole herd of them. And they're actually totally wild. And if anybody knows, like, I was sort of a movie buff when I was young before I became a devotee. There was one film came out called The Misfits, 1963, I think it was, with Clark Gable and Cliff Robertson and Marilyn Monroe. And it was a very dark movie. It was just a story about people troubled in their lives, trying to come together and redefine themselves, and just you know, they couldn't get along even there. It just looked like there was no future for certain people, and that's how the movie ended. It was such a dry. It just, you felt so empty after seeing this, and that was filmed in Stagecoach, Nevada, and we stayed in Stagecoach. That was kind of like a rendezvous place for our little traveling party. And when I was walking through that area, there were lots of horses around. I just couldn't believe, they're just wild. How could this be? How is it possible? And we also, they get hit by cars on the road. Like, it's kind of normal, you know, just like moose get hit in Canada, or bears, and you know, and deer. Yeah, in America especially, the deer get hit a lot. And so, anyways, it's a glorious animal. And we also talk about Krishna's horses. He had. Does anybody know how many horses he had? You know, that he drove the chariot, Arjuna's chariot. Does anybody know?
4.
4. That's right. Some people get a little confused. They say, didn't Krishna have 5 white horses or 5 horses? And they represent the senses. Sorry. And no, they got that mixed up. Those horses don't represent the senses. So some people like to drop the analogy that, okay, the passenger represents the soul. The person who's riding the horses is the intelligence. The reins of the horses represent the mind, and the 5 horses represent the senses. That's a great analogy. It's beautiful to help us to understand the makeup of the self, but it has nothing to do with Krishna's 4 white horses that drew Arjuna's chariot. So they're glorified. Krishna's horses are discussed. He also has his own chariot driver. His name is Daruka, and they go at the speed of lightning. Wouldn't it be nice to have that? And you know, and I think there's a lot in Western folklore, a lot of horses have been glorified. Are there any some lately? My friend Flicka, or I remember when I was a kid, some horse, you know, Mr. Ed, yeah, the talking horse, Mr. Ed. Yeah, and then I don't know, people got into cars after that. There was My Mother the Car, and a man believed that his that the car that he owned was his mother in the previous life. And it was a comedy. It ran for like 1 or 2 seasons and it went off. So yeah, horses are honored. They're very glorified, and they're you can hear about so many horses as part of the what we call Aukshohinis, military forces. So many elephants, so many horses, so many chariots made up, and infantrymen made up an Aukshohini, which is a military formation, of which the Pandavas had 7 and the Kauravas had 11. So Uchai you can look him up. There might be a little bit more about him, but he's the one that's most glorified, and therefore he's a representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then coming from that same ocean of milk was an elephant, and everybody loves elephants, don't they? Even a mad elephant is, wow, powerful. They're very auspicious, super brain animals. They've got incredible memory, incredible strength, and they are. If you go to most temples, some temples in South India, they line up on the outside, and it's just part of the tradition. You have a temple, you have deities, you must have an elephant. And Airavata is the one that's mentioned here. Another elephant that we read about in Canto 10 of the Bhagavatam is Kuvalayapida. He was not a nice one. He was set up outside the wrestling arena when young Krishna and Balaram were ready to go inside, and he was the first hurdle or roadblock or road bump that Krishna and Balaram had to deal with in the city of Mathura. He didn't last too long, and Krishna and Balaram each came into the wrestling arena with a tusk that they had pulled out. Imagine the strength of those two young men to do that. Everybody loves elephants. We have the sort of African elephants that tend to be a little taller and bigger in size, and we have the Indian elephants, which have for many years done seva. And anybody who's been to our headquarters in Mayapur in India, they know we have an elephant procession every Saturday night. And the brahmacharis go up and climb up there. They got their fancy turbans on, and there's big drums played, and it's quite a big attraction for the pilgrims who come. Gaurachandra used to live there, so he knows all about it. So Airavata is celebrated as one who has got, he's a status symbol there. If you have an elephant, it means you're fairly well off. Elephants are very expensive to keep. We had one in West Virginia, and he was just hard to maintain. He required so much grass every day. And they tried to, after they couldn't keep him anymore, I guess because of his expense, and they only lived so long, they decided to make a cement one, and it doesn't really substitute for a real one, but a little easier to maintain. Just have to paint him every 6 years or so. We used to have elephants here in Toronto for the Rath Yatra to lead the procession, and people were so amazed on Yonge Street. An elephant, oh my God. But it was actually hard to secure them after some time, and we also realized animal rights people wouldn't care for that so much. But that's only because people don't understand. Some animals are reserved for doing seva, carrying deities or carrying Brahmins or sometimes the king. And that's the culture, but things are a little bit different now. Okay, so then the last item that's mentioned here is among human beings, you have royalty, you have the monarch. It says Nara Adipam. Nara means human being, like Narasingha. Nara means man, Singha means lion. So half man, half lion incarnation. Most of us sing that song every day, asking for protection. And so here we have the Adipam, the Nara Adipam, the topmost amongst people is the king. Now, Prabhupada makes a clear point here. Not just any political figurehead works. It doesn't fit into this description. So he gives some examples. There's Yudhishthira, who was the emblem of righteousness. Maharaj Parikshit, He was the last of the Mohicans amongst the Pandavas, and he was righteous. And of course, there's Lord Ram, and there's a host of other King Prithu. We hear a lot about his glories. There's a whole list of incredibly dharmic monarchs who did such good work, and people just adored them because they were upholders of Dharma. They were very righteous. They would make major decisions, and they were super influential, filthy rich. Yes, we can say that. But they also took on the greatest burden, karma. If they made major mistakes, and if people, the citizens, suffer, they get a real severe reaction. On the other hand, if you make good decisions that were meant to, let's say, be for the ultimate benefit of many generations to come, then they would reap so much punya, pious credits. So this is what we can say about, let's say, political leaders who are righteous by nature. And they're a little few and far between. When it comes to election time, people have to scratch their heads. Really? Do I have much of a choice? And, the demarcation line between, the good ones and the bad ones are, well, is somebody thinking long term, or is somebody just short term, sense gratifier, teaser? So, no, I mean, some of our indigenous people in North America, the elders my understanding is the elders who made major decisions, they come together and they decide what's good for our generations to come. 8-10 generations into the future. Whatever we decide now is going to impact everybody else. So this is what we mean by a righteous person. And by the way, what is good for people anyways? Is it a whole lot of sense gratification? It is a barrel of monkeys? Is it, cheap thrills? Janis Joplin's first album, Cheap Thrills. Is it all about that? Is it by going in the Ferris? Well, they got real mean rides now. Is it a cheap thrill like that? And then it's all over. Oh, that's inside. Yeah, so we're talking about kings. They have to be, let's say, singled out as we're talking about the kings that listen to the Brahmins, that uphold Dharma, the ones that study scripture, and the ones that have counselors that they listen to that represent piety, virtues, and so on like that. Hard to come by. So those are just a few pointers. Would anybody like to bring up any of these 3 items or 3 different personalities identified here? Any comments from any of you? Did I forget to mention someone's favorite elephant or?
Well, you just, no, that you forgot. You didn't have the time to mention Gajendra.
Yes, that's right. He's another elephant. Gajendra is a big hero in our tradition in the Bhagavatam. Gajendra, who completely surrendered himself to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And you know why? Thank you for bringing this up. His story is really profound because he was a big bull, and he had a bunch of female elephants. They were having a great time in the water, just a fantastic time. And it went on for quite some time, splashing each other, and just having a time of having a whale of a time. And so then a crocodile came, and crocodiles, their natural habitat is the water. Elephants are okay in there, but they're more land creatures. So the crocodile came in and grabbed the one of the legs of the elephant. He looked like he was perilous, and it just looked like in the fight, in the battle that went on for quite some time, the elephant was losing it. He was just getting tired, and so he, being a pious, the story is quite involved. A pious king from the past, he decided, he recalled that I must submit myself now. So he plucked a lotus flower from the water where he was. He offered it in a prayerful spirit to the Lord, and the Lord came down, speaking of majestic animals, on his great Garuda bird, and he released his chakra and relieved the elephant. The crocodile lost his head, and in this way Gajendra was reinstated or saved from a chaotic situation. Yep, he's definitely a hero for us. Yep, Gajendra, we love him. We love him for his taking the lead on submission and surrender, sweet surrender. Yeah, good comment. Those are the kind of comments we need from you, Prabhus. Any other realization?
I thought it was interesting that, oh, sorry, I have an echo here. Let me take.
Sankalpa, you logged in twice.
So, interesting that Prabhupada said, did he say his favorite animal is the horse? Or the most beautiful?
No, I was just saying he was the most beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, he said it was the most beautiful.
1 second, I can't hear you. Okay.
Prabhupada did say that the horse was the most beautiful creature, most beautiful animal.
Oh, the most beautiful. Horses
yeah, go ahead.
Throughout the centuries, horses have been the main transportation, like in all cultures.
Yes.
And right. Even nowadays, like the Amish people, they use horses instead of vehicles.
Yes.
They have been always so useful in wars and just for every transportation. So, and they are beautiful. I totally agree.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's true. They have rendered service for many centuries, and yeah, they've been, considered very useful creatures. They're quite feisty. In my walks across the U.S. and Canada, I came upon many different animals, and when it comes to the cows, the beef cattle, they're kind of scared of you. They kind of go off in a different direction. The dairy cows come to you. They come to you right to the fence, to the edge of the road, and they like human contact, the dairy cattle. And when it comes to the horses, they'll kind of run up towards you, and then they snort through their nostrils, and then they kind of run the other way, away from you. And then they stop and they look at you again. And then they come back towards you. They're kind of feisty. They're kind of restless, very restless creatures.
Yeah. They're almost like dogs, Maharaj. My wife used to watch over some horses, and that's the only way I could think of them. They're like dogs. You give them a treat, they'll come, they'll do whatever.
Oh, yes. Thank you for that, Curtis. And one thing was that Curtis or was that Andy? Sorry. I couldn't make it out who it was. But thank you, contributor. One thing that's, when you travel through the countryside, anywhere, especially I think a little bit more in the US, we saw this a lot because the weather's a little hotter there. So horses will sort of pair up, and they, with their bushy tails, one will be at his head will be at the rear end of the other, and vice versa. And what they do is they fly their tail against the face of their companion, just to get the shoo the flies off, and maybe offer a little bit of relaxation, some comfort. This way, they're just like taking care of each other. Yeah. you can see they're rendering service to each other. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yep. Anything else about horses? How about elephants?
Maharaj, this is Samya. Airavata is a white elephant that belonged to Lord Indra, and he's
A
the
white
king
elephant? I'm sorry, I missed part. White elephant that belonged to?
of Lord Indra,
Oh, yes. Yeah.
right,
That's
Maharaj? Okay. He's also an elephant that is, I think, uniqueness about Airavata is the elephant. He can fly,
yes. Wow.
he can
Yes.
fly.
Oh, that would be I'd love to have that kind of a vehicle, to be honest with you. Yeah. Quite the mystic. Quite the mystic that can do that. We have one devotee who lives here. He's from St. Thomas, Ontario. And the famous jungle elephant animal from the circus, Jumbo. Was it Jumbo or Dumbo? Both. Oh, that's Disney. Jumbo was the circus elephant. So Jumbo got hit by a train. The circus animals, they were transported by train in the early days. That's before, I think that's from the radio days or pre-radio days, definitely before television. But yeah, the elephant got hit by a train, and they have a big monument of the elephant there. Sad story. Sad. The Jumbo it was, right? Okay. Yeah. Beautiful. And then, of course, there was Gulab Kali. Gaura Chandra was there at the time. And Gulab Kali was our elephant in Mayapur. Went for a bath. The trainer took him in there, and she was stuck in there for hours and hours. My understanding is that the whole village, the whole town of Mayapur went out there. Everyone heard she's stuck in the mud, she's going to die. And everyone went out there crying and screaming for her to get loose. So that after a while, the trainer decided, she got stuck in the mud so deep, instead of trying to get her right to dry land, he decided to go the other way. Am I right, Gaura Chandra? He went where the water was deeper, right? And finally, she was able to kind of like swim her way to safety. Wow. Wow. What an adventure. Yes. And then I'll tell you one of my other fine stories. I was with a brahmachari from New York, and we went to Gulab Kali's, her little house. And we went, the trainer wasn't there for some reason around the corner. And the brahmachari was a little shorter than myself. And we just wanted to get close to the elephant. And she decided to take her trunk. She wrapped her trunk around his waist, hoisted him up in the air, and threw him some yards, fortunately into the pile of straw. And then the brahmachari was saying, Maharaj, gee, why didn't you do something? So, what am I supposed to do? Me against an elephant? And it happened so fast. So everybody loved Gulab Kali. Now, she passed away. She had a foot infection. They figured out that having her on a concrete floor for her was not a good idea. So the elephants we have now, Vishnupriya and Lakshmipriya, two females, they have just the regular dirt for their ground level. They have a really nice facility for them. They have lots of land, they have lots to eat, and they're very well taken care of. Yeah. So I think it's one of the highlights when you go to Mayapur to see those two elephants. Yeah. Good. So we heard everybody likes to talk about horses and elephants. What about people? Yes.
I was thinking that although it's quite rare that there is today on this planet a great king, although he doesn't have much power, but he's highly respected because he's a devotee of Krishna and he's the king of Jagannath Puri. and his
Right.
name is Rajapati Maharaja.
Right.
The
Yes.
Lord.
Yes, that's right. Because thanks for bringing that up, and I also thought of him too when I was reading this. Yes, that's right. It's practically, monarchy has been abolished. The British saw to that, and even after the British left, I think that people were just used to a new kind of governance, and but maybe just more for the sake of let's see, what shall I say, sentimentality. There is a monarchy still in Puri today, just like there's a monarchy. My mother was crazy over Queen Wilhelmina from the Netherlands, and of course we have the Queen, and from the UK, and Canada still has a tie with the royalty from Britain. Yeah, people love to look up to some divine personalities, and because they dress real nice and they have such good mannerisms, and they wave like this, and the crowds like that. And they speak very well, succinct to the point. They may do nothing other than just kind of like walk through the crowds and look good and have a nice looking chariot. But it's Ram Raj. Prabhupada said people are looking for Ram Raj, a time when Ram could rule, or somebody like Ram could rule, someone who's fair, who's for justice. And we do hear about great kings in the Old Testament as well, right? I think there was Solomon, there's David. These are good big heroes in the Jewish community. But a little hard to find. People are not trained. That was pointed out. You get people in positions that they're not trained to even be like gentlemen or ladies. It's just, and this is a problem with our governmental system. So, anyways, Krishna also agreed to be somewhat of a leader, part of what you could say monarchy. In Dwarka later on, not when he was young. He showed his transcendence by being part of a cowherd community. Later on, he was obviously more part of monarchy, definitely had that status. Ramachandra, of course, appeared in a Kshatriya lineage. And so you have, of the Das avatar, you have Ram, you have King Parashuram. Well, he was, there's a mix of, he took on a Kshatriya role, but he was actually a Brahmin. Yeah, Brahmin by birth.
Maharaj?
Yes.
Speaking about elephants, I have something to share from where I come from in India. I don't know if you've heard about a devotee elephant by the name Keshavan in Guruvayur.
Okay.
There's a
An
famous
elephant
from Guruvayur. He's no more. He's immortalized. His name is Keshavan, and he's actually a devotee elephant because when he was around, he was a huge elephant, I mean, the biggest elephant you can ever see. Among all the elephants they had, he would not allow any other elephant to have the Lord on him to carry, because every day when they have the arti, they'll come on with the elephant procession.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted the Lord to be on his back all the time, and he made sure that no other elephant got it. So he was always so much into doing devotional service that I think before he passed away, he came and did obeisance to the Lord, and then he passed away. There's so much. Everybody knows that he's definitely a special soul in an elephant body.
Wow, nice story.
I'll send you a clip about that. It's a very real story. They made movies about it and all that stuff.
They still even have the tusks.
the tusk of the elephant, they have all preserved it in front of the temple, and they also have a huge structure of the elephant to remind people about him. It's like
Nice.
He's definitely
Sounds,
definitely a devotee of the Lord.
wow, beautiful. Thank you. Nice to hear that. We had a cat in our building here. He knew not to come into the temple room, but he can go anywhere else. And he used to go and sleep at the feet of the devotees at night. He'd crawl in, snuggle up to them. His name was Cully. He was black and he had like a tilak mark on him. It's always sweet to talk about animals, isn't it? And especially those who have done heroic deeds. Yeah, it's sweet. And it's also sweet to talk and think about human beings that have done heroic things in the past and sacrificed their lives for others. So these are heroes, you know, and anyone who is heroic and has performed such deeds, we can also easily say with this particular kind of a pattern that they are representatives of God on some level. Okay, and anybody else have anything like to say? We didn't hear from some of you. Should we ask Soumya on her birthday if she has anything she'd like to say? Do you have a wish? Do you want an elephant or a horse for your birthday? What, anything?
Oh, Maharaj. I just need, thank you so much, Maharaj. I need blessings of all the Vaishnavas. I need blessings from you, Maharaj. That's important, so I can serve better.
Is it time to wish Soumya a happy birthday before we forget or everything gets cut off? Shall we do that right now? Everybody ready? Hare Krishna to you. Hare Krishna to you. Hare Krishna, dear Soumya. Hare Krishna to you. All right. Haribol.
Thank you so much, devotees, Maharaj.
Yes, no problem. May you live long in Krishna's service. Okay, so we have 15 minutes left to go. Should we, I think it might be an idea to, any other comments we welcome? Anything at all? Elephants, horses, kings, come on, what more do you want? So much there. Well, just to get back to the main point. Arjuna is really keen to try to understand Krishna's presence in this world. So in one section of the Bhagavad Gita, we're hearing about how God is seen through the sun, through the moon, through sacred sounds, and through the taste of water. And now we're hearing about how God can be seen through, these other items that are, let's say, gifts of the universe. And so it doesn't matter which direction you take, where you look, where you go, there's going to be some representative of God. And there you can say, well, there's God, or there's an aspect of God. And that's why there's a whole list of items here that we're going through right now. Okay. If there's nothing else, no other comments, then we can move along.
Hare Krishna, I have a comment, Maharaj.
Oh yes, this is Arjun. Wow. Long time no see, or no hear even.
I mean, sometimes I'm busy, but I tune into the class, and if I don't tune in, I listen to it next day.
Oh, we're not criticizing you. We love you the way you are, okay?
Thank you. I love you. I love you too, everybody. I have a comment. I saw this Harinam, and there was this dog that followed them for like a long time, and then I don't know if the dog fell asleep or it passed away, but it looked like really it was having like ecstasy or something. And by the end, it just kind of like went to sleep. Or
This
it
was
just
a film clip that you saw of a chanting party and dog was following them?
yeah. They
Uh-huh.
say it might have been from previous life, maybe a devotee or something.
Oh, yeah, that could be. I mean, we know in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Shivananda Sain was like an organizer of processions, padayatras, or pilgrimages. And there was one dog that came to follow the group, and he stayed with them forever. He just wouldn't go away. And, one day they didn't find him anymore. And everyone concluded, I guess he went back with the Lord. Yeah, so we've got good dog stories as well. Yes. Dogs can be very attracted to a pilgrim. I've had dogs, like when I was in walking through Manitoba, one dog followed me forever and ever and ever. And I'd say, go back home, go back home. Someone's going to find us, and they're going to curse me. And that up in Ireland too, there was a Labrador following me, and forever and ever and ever. And I knew he was a local dog because they make good pets. And he was just following me forever. He didn't chant Hare Krishna. He was extremely territorial. You know what dogs do to claim their territory, right? They just leave a little urine here, a little bit here, a little bit there, here, there, everywhere, some urine. And he just can't. So finally the owner came and found him and found me. And he really let me have it. He gave me the chutney. I said, what can I do? I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. So animals can be very drawn to devotees, who are of a gentler kind. And yeah, why not? Yeah, they're very special. Unfortunately, no dog is mentioned in this list here, but nevertheless, they're categorized in the Gita elsewhere. They say a dog eater, a Brahmin, 4 different categories. The Lord is saying something. One of the best verses from the Gita, in my opinion, is that we're all the same. Doesn't matter what body you have, because there's spirit in there. So there's no difference. Vidyabhinaya sampane, brahmaneka bahashini, shuni chaiva, shwabhakija, pandita samadarishina. Shuni means dog. And a dog has a heart. Most people love dogs. I had 2 days ago, I had little Coco licking my fingers after my meal because he loves prasadam and he smelled the puri, the leftover puri on my fingers. And he licked my hands clean with his porous tongue. And I put that on the Instagram the other day. So many people are trying to, yes. So sorry about that. Just some calls were coming in, and people are coming in the door too, and trying to do some service. All right. So anything else about animals? Animals, when you see that they are responding so well to bhakti, it should be simply a reminder they are displaying some kind of love for the Lord, through the devotee. And we shouldn't take it that it's nothing. I remember I was walking in Guyana, and 2 dogs came at me, and they were like doing dandavats. It's almost as if here's the Swami, rough, let's go over there. Yeah, beautiful.
Maharaj,
Yes.
when you mentioned yes, Pandita Samadarshina, I was thinking that the real Pandit sees everybody equal. And I was thinking that some Pandas in India, they don't allow certain individual in certain temples. So what it says, only Hindus are allowed. Can you comment a little bit?
Well, I would just say that when only Hindus are allowed, especially in the state of Orissa, I think it's very Kanishta level. Kanishta means, just putting people to like a caste level, in boxes and saying some boxes are better than others, and I think it's very neophyte. And that's the term Prabhupada used to use, neophyte conscious. And, there are some outstanding people who are very devotional, and they don't have the right skin color for these people, for these pundits, and so they won't let them in. We also know, it's a famous story, Indira Gandhi, she's a Hindu by birth, right? Indira Gandhi, and they wouldn't let her in because she was married to a Parsi, like a non-Hindu. And on that basis, they wouldn't let her in. They felt her unqualified. So this is a tradition that's gone on for a long time and a little hard to change, but probably will change. Haridas Thakur, born in a family, Islamic background, they wouldn't let him in, even though his skin color was okay. It's just that, they knew this man is not part of our tradition. We can't let him in. Disqualified.
But I said the word pandit is, it's wrong to call these people pandas.
Yes, they have in places like Guyana and maybe Trinidad as well, they call such pundits bandits. Some of you laughed on that one, but I'm not joking. That's actually the fact.
Maharaj, Prabhupada said somewhere that panda means gunda.
Oh, yes. Well, a lot of India's been challenged, the culture of India, because so-called Brahminical people who call themselves pundits have not made it comfortable for people to participate. If you're not part of the right caste, they've been made to feel unwelcome. So therefore, there's a Christian community nearby. They'll say, "Oh, come on, you're one of us, no problem." Or Islamic people. So that is the downfall of what we sometimes call traditionalistic Hindu outlook. And I'd say rabbis are the same. Some rabbis. I don't want to generalize, but it's really a sad makeup of the Hindu community that we hear about. So just for your reference, look up 5:18, okay, from the Bhagavad Gita, and we'll kind of finish on that note. One of the best verses, I think, that's very relevant, and I spoke on this verse when I conducted a dog blessing in California. People brought their maimed dogs, they rescue dogs, and dogs that were rescued, and to a park, and we conducted an arti, we did a kirtan, and we spoke on this verse, and people were so grateful. Here's the verse, 5:18. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahman, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater. That's the verse. A verse about equality. Okay, you might like to memorize that one. I mean, sometimes in India, there was always this attitude towards people from a little more east. Oh, they're all dog eaters, That there's Sanskrit word is chandala, but the area where my ancestors come from, they're cow eaters. What's worse?
Maharaj, can I add a comment?
Please.
Yeah, when these days you hear a lot of people talking about equality, and that verse you mentioned, I would say that would be, right there. We would have Krishna be talking about that for such a long time ago.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Good words. We have
It's rooted in our culture. It's rooted in our philosophy that everyone is a spirit, everyone's equal in that regard. And if you want to say we're not equal, like by IQ level, intellectually, or in terms of beautiful status, it doesn't. We complement each other. We complement each other. That's if somebody says, like, we have somebody in our movement who's, we're having he's a bit controversial. Said he won't give initiation to people of the working class or to women. He won't give prenuptial initiation. That's because he's somehow they're molded himself to be like a caste conscious Brahmin, like what we call smarta Brahmin, and nobody agrees with him, but he's got influence. So we we embrace Prabhupada's spirit. He just took on, he welcomed everybody. He was very inclusive. That's the Prabhupada mood. That's the Chaitanya mood. Everyone is, qualified. Just if you see someone's coming from what might be a lowly background, humble background, but if they come with the right attitude, why should they be barred from, service and being involved?
And Maharaj, if Prabhupada, if Prabhupada was not like he was not inclusive, I doubt if we would have an ISKCON now.
That's right. You're right. You're absolutely right. If we went strictly to the rules, it would be only Brahmins. That would knock out all North Americans, black, white, Chinese, and people from would take everyone out. Like there's nobody left. Just a few guys who eat lots of parathas, after doing a puja, having big bellies, and knowing a few Sanskrit verses. What's that? They would lose their liberation. Yes. Yeah. I mean, just the fact that there's this welcoming gesture by Prabhupada for everyone makes it all the world of difference. Okay, so thank you so much. We'll have to end it there. Again, happy birthday, Somya. And if any of our group, other people have birthdays coming down the line, let us know. Thank you, Gabriel, for being on board. You're always welcome to be part of our group. Do you like this family?
It's a wonderful family, of course.
It's a wonderful family. Great.
A huge birthday coming up on October.
Okay. Any birthdays coming up soon?
Maharaj, yes, there is a huge birthday coming up on October 5th.
Okay, we're signing off now. Haribol.
Maharaj, oh my God. So there's probably Shyama Kumar. I don't know who that is. He wrote happy birthday. I'm thinking it is for Soumya. So anyway.
Sri Arjuna was just saying that his wife's birthday is today.
What?
You love me twice.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean. I'm sorry, I don't mean.